Hello, welcome to Hope and Healing. My name is Jeff Friedman. Hope and Healing is brought to you each week by Creative Tucson, and this is a show about mental health issues, how they're recognized, how they're treated, and how people recover from them. And so each week we'll have a clinician or someone else who's involved in the mental health practice, and we'll talk about a specific condition or a specific kind of treatment that's out there for people who are struggling with a wide variety of mental health issues. This week my guest is Jordan Emerson. Jordan is associated with PACE Recovery Center of Newport Beach, California. And PACE Recovery is an extended care facility. I think is it just men or men and women?
It's just men.
Just men. And the length of treatment, I think, is around between 90 days, 6 months in that area.
Yeah, it just depends, but typically we want the client staying as long as 6 months or longer in one of our extended programs. So. Okay.
And what kind of difficulties do your clients tend to be suffering from when they come to PACE?
Sure. So everybody who comes to PACE has a co-occurring disorder. And
can you tell us what is a co-occurring disorder?
Sure. So every young male adult that comes to PACE has some sort of a substance issue. And that substance can be alcohol, it can be, we're seeing a lot of prescription pills, heroin, things like that. And then along with that, whatever is driving those behaviors, whether that be depression, anxiety, whether that be a traumatic event in their history. So something causing those behaviors. And that's how we use the term co-occurring, to mean that they're suffering from both of those issues.
I noticed that some treatment centers today use the term root causes. Is that sort of what we're talking about here in regard to the co-occurring disorders?
Sure. So it would seem that nobody would want to put themselves in these positions where an addict has these lows and isolates themselves from their families and causes all these problems. So we have to look at what's really driving this, what's causing them to practice these behaviors. And you can go to as many meetings as you want, and you can be sober for 30 days, for 60 days, but unless you address what's driving that, you're never gonna be a completely healthy person.
So it can be complicated, I take it.
It's definitely complicated, and that's part of the reason for the longer stay than the traditional 30-day treatment that we used to hear about.
Now, just full disclosure here, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan is a friend and has been a friend of mine for some time, and I know that by profession you're a lawyer.
Correct. I'm a lawyer. I practice here in Tucson. But the reason that I'm involved with PACE Recovery Center is that one of my best friends throughout my entire life is the owner of the treatment center. And I've worked with him in the recovery community for many years before he owned PACE Recovery Center. And I feel very strongly about the work he's doing. And so that's why I've stayed involved with PACE, and just the results that we've seen from the clients that come through PACE Recovery Center is what drives me to stay involved.
So you get good results out there.
We think we have terrific results, and we're not going to quote a number and say this is our percentage of results. And the reason for that is it's impossible to stay in touch with certain clients that we don't stay in touch with. But when we see clients that have come through PACE Recovery Center and are now working in the recovery field and have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years of sobriety and are now teaching others about sobriety, we consider that to be good results, and those are the results we're looking for.
That must be very gratifying.
It is. It's great to see, and this is such a specialized community. So we're talking about male adults. Our typical age range is between 18 to about 27. We do see older clients than that, maybe into their 30s. but that's really the bread and butter, is that 18 to 27, 28-year-olds. And the reason for that is that's a very specialized age, and they have different needs and different motivations than perhaps an older adult who may have children, who may have other things driving the decision. So when we treat these young adults, we have to look at how do we communicate to them that their life is not over, that they can still have fun, they can still enjoy while being in recovery.
Right.
By the way, I wanted to say thank you for this coffee. I saw you doing the French press over there before the show. It's delicious.
Well, you're quite welcome. And we'll just put it on your tab when you leave, okay? So I guess you must have thought, given thought over the time that you've been with PACE, what is it that you guys are doing? What is it that you're understanding out there that helps you get results that other treatment centers wish they were getting?
Sure, it's a great question. With PACE, where it starts is with the founder and the CEO, Lenny Siegel.
Right.
And
who is also a friend of mine.
He is a friend of yours.
As of now, he's a friend of mine. As of this show, we'll see.
Correct.
Afterwards.
If you edit this well, he'll still be a friend of yours. But really, Lenny drives PACE Recovery Center.
Right.
He's working 24/7, which when we take family vacations, I don't appreciate, but I'm sure parents and the clients appreciate it. But Lenny is the driving force, and from calling to do an intake to getting updates on how the client is doing all the way through discharge, Lenny is on top of it. And this is not a person who's sitting in an office behind a computer all day. He's at PACE Recovery Center. He's at the different houses. He knows each individual client, what their goals are, all these things, and he's driving it. So I start with that concept that this is not, in the recovery field these days, we see these kind of big corporations that own these treatment centers. And this is a one person driving this.
True.
And that's where it starts, and that's where the culture of PACE Recovery Center comes from. But the other thing is dealing with with both aspects. So I guess I should start by talking about when the clients come in, they automatically go onto a step system. And what a step system means is that when they first get there, they're not allowed to leave the house. So they stay in the house all day, they do their groups in the house. And
by the way, I've seen the house, and I would have no trouble being at step one if that was the place I got to live.
Well, what's amazing about it is, you have to convince people to go to treatment, especially an 18 to 27-year-old male. The last thing they want to do is go to treatment.
You have to beg them.
You have to beg them, and you're absolutely right. So PACE Recovery Center has 4 residential houses. They're all within blocks of the beach in Newport Beach, California. I think it's about 72 degrees every day there. And these are beach houses that have all been redone, beautiful houses. And I'll put the website up later, but you can go to the website and see pictures of the houses. And I think most people in their right mind would say, I'll gladly go live there. And so that is part of it too, though. That's part of the treatment is let's put these young adults in a place that's gonna feel welcoming to them.
Right.
And so, but getting back to the step system, so there's 4 houses, and the houses each can hold up to 6 clients. So when they first get there, they're not allowed to leave the house. They do their groups in the house, and they do their meetings with their therapist, their psychiatrist, all those things. And until they get the trust from the staff, they can't go to the next step, which is then being able to leave the house on outings, being able to leave the house on your own, and over the stay, you get more and more privileges.
So they would stay at the same house, they would just have more latitude in what they can do as they move through the step system.
That's absolutely correct.
And then what does the other end of the step system look like when they have done all the steps they can? What kind of freedom might they have, or activities that they might do?
Right, so the goal of treatment is obviously to get these individuals to a point where they can live on their own and be in recovery.
Right.
So the point of the highest or lowest, I guess, however you look at it, level of step system is that they can come and go as they please, as long as they're meeting their group times and things like that. But they're free to come and go. Some of them are in school. Some of them might work a part-time job. But during the day, if they have free time where they're not committed to something and they want to walk to the beach or ride one of our bikes to the beach, take one of our surfboards to the beach, they have the ability to do that. And when you talk about activities, we do multiple activities every week.
I know you have a softball team there, right?
Correct. So Friday nights is we play in the softball league. It's a sober softball league. And I should probably pause there, and most people don't think there's probably sober softball leagues in a lot of places. There is a strange thing in Newport Beach, California.
Yes.
It's a young adult recovery mecca.
Right.
And so if you've ever been to Newport Beach and not known this and seen groups walking around, it's probably a recovery group. It's probably the largest conglomerate of recovery probably in the United States.
Well, I've always heard that there was, on the West Coast, it's Newport Beach, and on the East Coast, it's Boca Raton, where they just tend to have clusters of treatment centers similar to PACE.
Yeah, I think that's true, and why that's so important is that when you're in a community of other people who are also in recovery and who are working on themselves, there's not that same temptation. But so you talked about the softball. We do that on Friday nights. We play in a sober softball league. And what's the purpose? What's the point? It's to learn how to do these things without including the drug or the alcohol that used to be a part of this. And so we try and do something kind of fun each week. Some examples are we go to sporting events. You know, we're in Southern California, so there's every professional team you can think of. We've done bungee jumping. We've taken them on nighttime ocean swims. So things that really are a lot of fun to do, and you learn, wait a second, I can have a lot of fun doing these things and not have to be using.
How about dating?
That's actually one of the kind of strengths of having a recovery community like Newport Beach. Now, when you first get there, you're going to be encouraged kind of to be internalizing, working on yourself before you're out dating. And even so, in the first 6 months, year of recovery, dating can be a tricky thing. Because
I think at any time during recovery.
Yeah, or probably any time in life. My wife, I think, would vow to you that she's
what?
She doesn't know how to deal with me anymore. So
you were the of all my friends, you were the guy who married above his station.
That's right.
In such a dramatic way.
That's right. Well, I considered that most people focused on their education. I focused on marrying the right person. So.
Well, where other people were working toward an eventual career.
Correct.
You were working toward your wife's eventual career.
That's right. And I think it worked out well.
I guess we're just presuming you know a lot about Jordan's wife, but she is a pediatric radiologist.
Correct.
And currently is at Stanford, finishing up a fellowship, but we'll be back in town pretty soon, I think.
Right.
And I guess we should mention that because she is your sole source of support.
That's right.
On this planet.
That's right.
And,
although after this show airs, the calls will probably be rolling in.
Well, and they might be able to just edit some of this out too. When a person has been relying on alcohol or some other substance to kind of quell the fears and insecurities and of dating, and all of a sudden they get sober and they're asked to now learn how to do all of this stuff in life, working, going to school, dealing with family, and now romantic interest. And we're asking you to do this all substance free. So I imagine it's good to have some other guys your age who you can talk about your insecurities with, or who can call you on fronting that this is not difficult for you. Of course it is.
Right. And you hit on two things there. The first thing you hit on is what they need now that they don't have this coping mechanism of the alcohol or the drugs. And so that's going to come from a couple places. It's going to come from the group therapy. It's going to come from the one-on-one sessions. So everybody's getting group therapy every day. Everybody gets 3 one-on-one sessions a week. We have psychologists, psychiatrists.
Right.
So our staff to patient ratio is about 2 to 1. There's about 2 staff members for every patient.
Really? I thought you were going to say
the other way around. You would think so, but the thing is, so first of all, there's a staff member in each house awake 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 consulting psychiatrists. We have, like I mentioned, psychologists. We have multiple therapists. We have multiple group house managers. So the thing is, we want as many people as possible with eyes on these young adult males to make sure that we're keeping them in line. But in these therapy groups that they're getting each week, learning these tools to cope with these feelings that you're talking about. How do I deal with my anxiety in the dating world? How do I deal with my anxiety that school's really hard and I'm trying to, just keep my head above water? How do I deal with these things? So that's the first part you hit on, is gaining these new tools and methods. The second part you hit on is having the group with them. And I'm not talking about the therapists.
Right.
I'm talking
their
about
peers.
Their peers.
Yeah.
And that is almost as strong as the work that they get from the doctors and therapists. And the reason for that is the best way I can describe PACE Recovery Center is almost like a sober fraternity.
Right.
These guys are living in close quarters. They're seeing each other every day. They're spending a lot of time with each other, and they get to become great friends. And they can lean on each other and rely on each other to help them through these situations.
Yeah.
And with that kind of fraternity mindset, I guess maybe it'd be more like a service fraternity, because they don't go out and party and they don't do these things, but they do sober activities in the meantime. And so I brought you actually, they have PACE Recovery, they have hats that they wear and different things like that to kind of remind them of that brotherhood that they're in. So I brought this for you. And
so am I an honorary member of the Brotherhood?
No,
not that much.
I wouldn't go
but
that
I do
far.
get the hat.
You get the hat anyway.
Okay.
So there you go.
God, you have a small head, man.
Well, I always have. It's amazing how much fits in there. But
that's what other people have said. Wait a second. Okay. I have a little gift for you too, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
I look forward to it. A new car?
Key to a brand new Porsche.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, sadly, all you get is the key.
The key.
I found that on the sidewalk the other day. But you can have it.
So I bring you an actual thought-out gift, and you bring me something you found on the sidewalk.
This makes me look kind of like a gangster, doesn't it? Wouldn't you say?
I don't think gangsters are usually that old.
It's still small.
So, getting back
well,
to...
I want, there's another question that I wanted to ask you. And actually should have been maybe in a different progression, but when you were talking about recognizing that a lot of times what you're seeing is a person taking drugs or drinking or with a needle in there, or whatever that you're seeing, is maybe not actually the entire picture, and there may be something beneath that. And I thought that was just a wonderful way of looking at substance addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism. And so you said that what's often beneath that is suffering that has to do with a depressed mood, suffering that has to do with the kind of anxiety that most people will never, ever experience in their life. So what do you think other people may be seeing and mistaking. Because I know that there are a lot of treatment centers out there, and they'll get a person in treatment, even some extended care places that people are in for a longer period of time. And these people come in and they focus on nothing but the addiction, nothing but the addiction. And I noticed that in a lot of those centers, it almost feels like it's a punitive approach. It's like, you did something wrong, you're messing up, you're a morally deficient person. And I feel like I'm hitting my stride here because I'm saying to you what I need to say. But
you feel like you're talking to me when you say
yeah,
morally
I feel
deficient?
Like so no, but I've known a lot of people who worked in places like that or had gone through treatment in places like that, and sometimes they even stay sober, but sometimes I feel like, do they need to break them down like that?
That's a good point, and there's actually a flip side to your point, and that is that other treatment centers don't almost focus at all on the addiction. And they say, let's only look at what's driving this. And let's only talk about these feelings causing this.
Right.
And we believe that you're not going to fully be able to recover until you acknowledge both issues, that both are a problem. And so we're not a treatment center that says, let's just work on the underlying issue and then the substance abuse will solve itself. We don't believe that. Yeah. So we believe very strongly in the 12-step program. We believe very strongly in going to meetings.
Right.
We believe very strongly in being in active recovery.
Right.
But with that, it's not about breaking you down.
So let's define terms a little bit. Active recovery. There are people watching who may have never heard that term.
So active recovery is a term that refers to somebody who is working their recovery program. So say you've been sober for a year.
Yeah.
And then you stop going to meetings and you stop participating in the recovery community and you just say, I'm going to live my life now as if none of this ever happened.
Right.
And to be honest with you, there may be people out there that have recovered that way and stayed sober. There may be. But what active recovery means is that it doesn't matter if it's day 1 or day 1,000 of your recovery, that you are active in your recovery, you still participate in meetings, you still realize that you're an addict, and if you were to pick up a bottle again today, it would probably go back to square one.
Right.
So that's what we mean when we say active recovery.
So active recovery means going to meetings, and by meetings you're talking about Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, Narcotics Anonymous meetings, maybe Gamblers Anonymous meetings.
Correct.
Okay. There are 12-step fellowships out there, 96 at last count, for different problems. So going to meetings means going to 12-step meetings. Being active in recovery also means, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but staying open to the feedback of trusted others. Maybe that's an AA sponsor, maybe that's a therapist, maybe that's a family member, but not being the captain and crew of the Titanic here.
Correct.
So getting feedback from other people, learning how to accept that feedback.
Right. So let me give you an example of that. I talked a lot about Lenny Siegel, who's the owner and CEO of Pace Recovery. You would think a person that owns a treatment center, a successful treatment center like this, who's been sober himself for 18 years, who has a lot of good things going on in his life right now, you would think that he might say to himself, okay, I've healed myself and I'm done working my program, let me oversee this program now. And he leads by example. Lenny is constantly going to meetings, he's constantly working on himself, and he works on himself in group with everybody else.
Right.
And they can see that rawness and that realness.
Yes.
And it's not until you see that from your leaders or from your group members that you can start to feel like it's okay for yourself to open up in that way.
You know, I agree with you. I think that can be just amazingly dramatic when you see somebody that you sort of looked up to as someone who had, if not all the answers, a lot of them. And to see this person also living in the question and wondering what's right and asking for feedback and support, I think that can be very
And what better person for these young males to look at than somebody who went through this?
Yes.
So somebody who had to go to treatment twice, by the way, until he found his way. And now owning Pace Recovery Center, and Lenny likes to do the fun things in life. He likes to go to the beach. He likes to go to sporting events. And the guys go with him, and they're able to see that, wow, you know, this guy isn't having a bad time in life. He's having actually a pretty good time in life. And let me try and emulate that.
Well, you know, Lenny is, and actually, I don't know whether this was his influence on you, but all the time I've known him, he's been a gym rat. And then somehow you sort of got into this, and I don't know whether that was something, I never thought about that before.
Some might say I'm stronger than him now, but I don't know.
I wouldn't be one of those people. But the thing about Lenny is that he's a big guy, and he's a powerful guy, and always a respectful guy, but he's the kind of person who can tell you to go to hell, and you walk away from that interchange feeling like you have been given a compliment.
Well,
he's very good. I don't think that's something you can teach a person, but he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and I think more than that, it's that he is not giving anybody any passes. And Lenny has worked with young adult males more than almost anybody.
Yes. Yes.
And so he's heard every excuse in the book. And he knows
and he's come up with a few of them, I think.
He knows when someone's trying to get one over on him.
Right.
And he used to have a sign, he probably still has it hanging in his office, and it says something like, if you think you fooled me, you very well may have, but you're the one who still has the problem. And so I think he kind of lives through that. He doesn't take a lot of excuses from these guys. He demands a lot from them and rewards them for bringing that. So, I keep bringing it back to him, but he's really the heart and soul of Pace Recovery. And you don't see a CEO who's in group every day, and you don't see a CEO who's on the phone with parents every day, and you don't see a CEO who's doing the admission calls like Lenny is. And that's again why we're seeing the success out of the patients that come through Pace Recovery Center.
Well, I wouldn't argue with that point, and I'm a big fan of Lenny. I think he's a wonderfully talented therapist, and I think that, like you said, he is as good as he is because he suffered similarly to a lot of the people he treats, and I don't think that's something that no program can teach into you.
And then,
but
one piece.
Hold on, just let me finish. The other thing is that I think that the philosophical foundation of PACE is strong, regardless of whether Lenny was involved in it or not. And what I really like about your guys' philosophy is you don't take at face value what you see in the first 5 minutes of the interview. And I know that you dig and dig and dig and a lot of times find stuff. I also know that you get the family involved in a very, very active way. And that's also a learning experience for the family members, for the clinicians at PACE, and for the clients at PACE too. So the more people you're treating in that orbit, the better off you're probably going to be.
That's 100% correct. And we get families in that maybe most of the family members should be in treatment. But at the same time, that's not our goal. What our goal is to work on the family piece. And a lot of times family members don't know how to support these young adults that need to be in treatment because these family members love them and they want to give and give and give, and they don't realize by giving.
Or they have had enough of, they are so over this person that they wouldn't able to be kind or considerate or willing to take the risk of giving them another chance.
Right.
So yeah, it's good when you have staff members that are able to get a fine point on that. And I got the signal from Jeff that we're about out of time. So I think we have on the screen the contact information for PACE. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how to get in touch with you guys.
Sure. So we have, I'll put on the screen an 800 number, and we also have a website. And the website is terrific. I mean, it talks about everything that we didn't even get a chance to get into today, like the schoolwork that they get involved
right.
in, anywhere from high school, because some of these young males are 18, maybe they didn't finish high school, college.
Yeah.
We have males that come in that are very smart, have finished college, and now work on graduate programs.
Right.
So we have all of that. It talks more in length about the family program.
And there are a whole bunch of really good colleges and universities all within about a 20-minute drive of Pace.
Right. And so you might be thinking, well, don't you just kind of have them there for a short period of time and then they'd go back and do their college there? The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
We like to have them in Southern California as long as possible. And so you say to yourself, how does that work? Well, they come to Pace.
And they came to their senses.
Right.
And they decided to live there rather than Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I got to let you go in a minute, but thank you for coming. And you made a good point. We're going to have to do another show. And we have agreed that the next time Lenny Siegel's in town over the weekend, the two of you are going to come back and we'll do another piece on it.
If they haven't pulled you off the air by then.
If they haven't arrested you by then. Enjoy
Jeff,
your Porsche.
Good to see you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having us on to talk about Pace Recovery Center.
My pleasure.